So let's take a look at Facebook, how it's built. As you can see, we have these stories that are built using rows, and as you can see, as I scroll down, this layout is in column, is a column. So the two building blocks for layouts in Android are rows and columns. Now that we have taken a look at the Facebook page, let's now go into Android Studio and try to work out on the rows and column. So I'm just going to create a composable function that I'm going to call main layout. So in this composable function, we are going to have 3 boxes. So in the first box, let's just give it a background color using the modifier property. So let's just give it a color of green, and let's also give it a height. Let's give it a height of 80 dp and also a width of 80 dp. So let's copy this box and then let's paste it down this box composable 2 times. Okay, so let's just change this color to red, and then let's change this one to yellow. Okay, now that we have these 3 composables, I want to put these 3 boxes into a column composable. So let's just write a column composable. So this column composable will display our boxes in a vertical manner. They will be displayed vertically. So let's just put them inside the column composable like this, and then let's run our code on our emulator and let's see the output. Oh, sorry, I forgot. We need to code this composable, this composable function inside the set content. Otherwise, it won't be displayed in our emulator. So let's rerun our emulator and let's see. So as you can see, our boxes are displayed vertically in a column, right? So let's see how we can arrange these things in a column. So in a column, we have what you call the vertical arrangement and then the horizontal alignment properties. So the first property that I'm going to start with is the vertical arrangement. So the vertical arrangement, let's say we want space between our boxes, right? We want a space between our boxes. So let's reload the emulator and let's see the results. As you can see, we were supposed to have spaces between our boxes, but there is no spaces between our boxes. The reason why is the column composable takes the size of its children. So in this case, it takes the size of this of these boxes. So for example, let's just give this column this column composable let's just give it a background color to explain what I'm saying. So let's just say cyan, and then let's reload our emulator, and then you will see what I'm talking about. So as you can see, it occupies the color of this of its children. So what do we do now? What we need to do is we need to make sure that this column composable, it fills the whole size of the screen. So to do that, we need to use the fill max size property, right? So if we use the fill max size property now, this now column composable will now occupy the whole screen, as you can see, as you will see when it reloads the emulator. So as you can see, now that the column composable now occupies this whole screen, that means that our boxes or our children inside the column composable, our boxes that we've made, they now have the space to move around the screen. That's why you now see that this property that we use, the vertical arrangement, the arrangement or space between, you can now see that now we now have space between our boxes. So let's use another property, that's space evenly. So what you see with the space evenly property, you see that the distance between these boxes and also the distance from the edges where these boxes are, it will now be even. As you can see, from what I was saying, you can see the distance from this edge to the box is even from the distance from this green box to the red box. The distance from the red box to the yellow box is the same as the distance from the edge to the yellow box. So let's talk about another property which we call space around. So what the space around property does, it will give a space around these boxes. So now let's just reload our emulator and check. As you can see, we now have the space around these boxes, right? We now have space around these boxes. So let's look at another property. If we can use the arrangement.bottom. So if we use the arrange.bottom property, we can see that we can now see that our boxes will now be aligned at the bottom. As you can see, our children or our boxes are now aligned at the bottom. We can also change this property to top. We can align them at the top, and you see that they will now be aligned at the top of the screen. As you can see, they are now aligned at the top of the screen. And also we can align them center we can just use the center property. But also using the column composable, we also need to align this. Also, we also need to align our children vertically. So to do that, we use a property called vertical alignment. Sorry, we use a property called horizontal alignment since we want to align them horizontally. So if we say, we can say alignment. If we say alignment dot start, if we say alignment dot start, we'll say that our boxes will be aligned at the edge of this horizontal axis. So we have this horizontal axis, we have this vertical. Since in columns our views are displayed vertically, when we are talking about the horizontal alignment, we are talking about how they are aligned at the horizontal axis. So the start is this beginning of this horizontal axis. As you can see, it's now aligned. It's aligned at the start of the horizontal axis. If we use the end property, you see that it will be moved at the end of the horizontal axis. So let's see. As you can see now, our chilled boxes are now aligned at the end of the horizontal axis, and we can also align them at the center of the horizontal axis. Oh, it's supposed to be center horizontal. I left out horizontal. So it will align it at the center of the horizontal axis. As you can see, it's now aligned at the center of the horizontal axis. So now that we've talked about the column composable, now we need to talk about the row composable. So as you can see that in a column composable, our boxes were aligned vertically. In a row composable, they will now be arranged horizontally. So let's take a look at this. So let's change the column composable to a row composable function. Okay, so let's just reload our emulator and see how our boxes are now arranged horizontally. As you can see, now our boxes are now arranged horizontally. So let's use the horizontal arrangement property to arrange our boxes. So we can then say arrangement dot space between. So this should give us a space between our boxes. So if we reload our emulator, so if we reload our emulator, you will see that there is no spaces between our boxes. So in the row composable, just like the column composable, it takes the size of its children. So For us to change this, we need to tell the raw composable that it must fill the whole space, it must fill the whole screen of our emulator. So to do that, we use the modifier property like we did in our column composable, and then we say modifier dot fill max size. So this max size function will tell our raw composable that it needs to fill the whole screen. So if we reload our application now, so if now that our emulator is reloaded, you can see that we now have spaces between our boxes. So what if we want even spaces between our if we want to space them evenly? So to space them evenly, we just use the space evenly property. So if we just reload our emulator, just like with the column composable, you see that the spaces between the boxes will now be even. As you can see, the space from this edge to this box and the space between these boxes are even. As you can see, the spaces between these boxes are even. And also, if we want spaces around these boxes, we can also use the space around property. As you can see, we now have the spaces around our boxes. So now that we've talked about arranging our boxes in the horizontal axis, let's take a look at how we can align them vertically in the vertical axis. So to do that, we need to use the vertical alignment property. So we can say alignment dot bottom. So if we use the alignment dot bottom property, what this will simply do is it will align our boxes at the bottom of the screen. As you can see, our boxes are now aligned at the bottom of the screen. We can even align them at the center of the vertical axis. As you can see, we use this properties alignment dot center vertically. So what this will do is it will align them at the center of this vertical axis. As you can see, this is the vertical axis. It will align them at the center of the vertical axis. As you can see, they are now aligned at the center of the vertical axis. We can also align them at the top of the vertical axis. Okay, as you can see, so that was for me that was from me, guys, about column and raw composables. I hope you find this video useful. If you find this video useful, please make sure you share it with your friends. Click on the thumbs up button and also subscribe to my YouTube channel, and make sure you turn on the notification bell on. See you in the next video, and make sure you play around with this raw and column composable. Practice makes you perfect.